Urbex is the spirit of the Northwest. You and I will travel and go on adventures together. There's nothing like the Northwest. You and I will experience new things together. There's nothing like the Northwest. And it can be found here on PNWURBEX. PNWURBEX is spirit of the Northwest.
Hey, welcome back again to Pacific Northwest Urbex. Today, you and I are going to take a trip through my local Macys, located in Puyallup, Washington. This is generally, maybe a week or two right after the liquidation sale started. So sit back, relax, grab a cold drink, and let's have a walkthrough. This Macys is actually located in the South Hill Mall in Puyallup, Washington. The store opened as the Bon Marché, which was added onto the mall as part of their expansion back in the mid-90s. Federated Department Stores, which also owned Macys, acquired the Bon Marché in 1992. In 2003, Federated rebranded the Bon Marché as Bon Macys and then dropped the Bon in 2004. South Hill Mall representative Joe Bell stated that no solid replacement has been found, but they are actively seeking potential tenants for the large space. We have a pretty good track record when it comes to taking larger spaces like that and turning them into something else. Now, I will have to agree with Mr. Bell from the South Hill Mall. The Sears that closed back in 2018 at this mall, they were able to find round one and two other tenants to fill that space. So there is no empty anchors at the mall. They've had anchors such as Lamont's, Mervin's, and a few others that have left over the years, and they've been able to pretty well fill all of those spaces. The inline tenants, there is a couple of dead inline tenant spaces in the mall, but this is a regional mall in my area. As we're walking through this closing Macy's store, I actually wanted to take my time instead of rushing through to capture a lot of the details. You know, the history of Macy's. This year they're closing quite a few stores, two in my state, one at the Kitsap Mall, one here at the South Hill Mall. The other Macy's at the other malls, they're doing pretty well. But, you know, with retail kind of being on such shaky ground, I'm just not really sure. And with this being my local Macy's, you know, I just really want to capture it in detail to remember how it was. This sale that they're having was pretty much right after they announced it. So most of the products that you see here, for the most part, was always what Macy's was carrying through the sale. Now, as the liquidation will go on, they will start bringing in more product. And a lot of that product really isn't typical of what Macy's would carry. So this video, you're going to find that it goes on for quite a while. And he's like, well, why are you taking shots of this, shots of that? Well, like I said, I just want to capture the detail. And for the ladies out there, I actually want to capture a lot of the detail as far as the women's department also. You know, you can always go back to this video some years down the road and see what fashions were or what people were wearing here back in 2025. So anyway, sit back, relax, and let's continue on as we walk through Macy's. Now, as we head through the women's apparel department, as we are walking down the raceway here inside the store, I'm going to point out a section that was actually added on at some point during the store being located here. Right there, as you see that gate that can come down, there's a series of gates, and as we're walking into, this is all that has been added on. In fact, going down in here to the women's clearance section, this years ago when this was all grand opening, this used to be a restaurant. I remember there was a bar in there at one time, and there you're going to see an opening right there. There is 3 openings into the mall, and as we're looking down this section here, going down this raceway, these used to be other retail stores, and I can't remember off the top of my head what stores used to be in this section. But as we're heading down this raceway, there's a second opening right there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go out to this opening, and you're going to see the third opening to the mall on the right hand side. So I don't know why they have so many openings, but again, there's one, there's a second, and then we're going to walk down the corridor inside the mall, and you're going to see the third opening on the left hand side. At the end of this corridor, there's round 1. That used to be the old entrance to Sears. Now we're coming up to the third entrance into Macys. This Macys also has they have 2 levels. They have an opening to the upper parking lot and one to the lower parking lot. So there's quite a few entrances into this Macys. But yeah, this used to be a restaurant in this section of the mall many years ago. We're going to take a swing with the camera around here, and we're going to take a look at the front of what Sears used to be, which is obviously has been gutted and remodeled. Those pictures that you see, posters that you see up on the wall on the left hand side, those were actually placed in there by Sears. They used to place their ads in there going down the corridor, and that's going to the outside of the mall. That door right there, that used to be the opening to the restaurant. Here's a part of the mall directory, and that's where Macys is located on the mall map. You can see there's quite a few other tenants, and they're pretty much all filled up, which is great. The newest addition is the Homewood Suites, which is a motel they're building. That building is brand new. The building that used to be there used to be Ballet's Fitness, and it had been vacant for many years. So they tore that down and built the Suites, which you can see there's going to be opening soon. Looks like they'll be having a mall entrance there too. Well, the mall entrance has already been there, but hopefully that drives up more business for the mall, especially the food court too, which is 100% full. So the mall's doing okay for a regional mall. The owners seem to be doing really well with finding tenants and keeping it active. Now back to this addition. I didn't notice it while I was walking around, but you can see there's a gate drop there and another one to the left. And I could never figure out a reason of why would you have a mall gate drop right there? I mean, one, I do know that wall that used to be there, that used to be for the other tenants. The only thing I can think of is maybe that's a fire rated wall that goes through there, and that's actually a fire door that drops down. It was required by fire code. That's the only thing I can really think. I could never think of a reason why they would basically just kind of fence that off for any reason. But anyway. Why don't we go ahead and leave the first floor and we'll head on up to the second level via the escalator. The second level basically houses children's. They have the Toys R Us section, and they have the housewares and bed linens and things of that such. As we take a left turn here on the right hand side, they basically had that area for the few Christmas decorations they had left. They were putting on clearance. Last time I was in the store, this back wall housed all their linens and pillows, and they kind of mix it up. They would normally just do that. You can see it's filled with some housewares that they have left. As we make another left turn, we're going to be heading into the linens and on that end, and then after that we'll go through the kids section and we'll visit Toys R Us. straight ahead, you can see Jeffrey there for the Toys R Us section. On my second visit to this store during their liquidation, Jeffrey and that bench were actually sitting in the back room. They had removed it. And on my third visit, the Toys R Us sign had been removed. The toys pretty much, the liquidation percentages off in the toy department really weren't that high. I mean, that's typical of most liquidations. So most of their product was still there. It kind of thinned out a little bit as the liquidation would go on. My third visit to this store, just to take a peek in, prices were at 50%. So, you know, it was starting to get up there to where some of the more product was starting to clear out. Now, a portion of these toys, I remember going to Toys R Us as a kid. Here, you know, they did have Lego brands. They had things like Play-Doh and a few other things. But some of these brands that they had in here weren't, I wouldn't say they were probably the best quality of toys. Just seemed like they were more on the cheaper end. You know, sometimes I've seen probably better product even at Walmart for toys. You know, I mostly notice that when I'm doing Christmas shopping. But anyway, we're still going to take a walk through and kind of take a detailed look at all the toys and everything that Toys R Us carried here at this Macys store. Here's a back room that Jeffrey would actually end up kind of just sitting in. And all these exits that Macy has, there's multiples of these, and they just kind of just plunk their junk there. Here you can see the pricing tags and everything. And I was kind of wondering, it's like, why don't you put this stuff away? But then again, it is liquidation. And I will have to admit, when the store was operating as a normal store, pretty much they didn't use these as storerooms. So at this point, you know, they don't obviously really care. They just only care really about trying to liquidate everything for the most money that they can. The elevator in this Macy's is kind of hidden. It's right through there on the right-hand side. You can see some additional Toys R Us products that they had stocked in there. One thing I always liked about Macys, at least in my area, they always kind of took, and I think in most areas, like the ceiling, they kind of took an extra, kind of went the extra step on making it more interesting, kind of making it the focal point of the store. A lot of other stores you go into, they just have the regular drop ceiling, like you see there up on the right hand side. Well, how about you and I go ahead and head back down to the first level? We'll go ahead and do a little bit more walking and take a little bit closer look at some of the other areas that we haven't seen yet in detail. And here's another concept of a store in a store. This one is by Lids Locker Room. You can see a lot of Seahawks merch, some Mariners merch as well. Now we're going to be entering where they sold candy. As right there you can see, it is the famous Frango candy. Frango's exact year of creation and origin of the name has been lost to history. According to a trademark document from the U.S. Patent Office, the name Frango was officially used on June 1st, 1918. A popular item on the tea room menu was a frozen dessert called Frango, and it was available in maple and orange flavors. The name probably originated by the combination of Fran from Frederick Nelson, a former department store located in the Northwest, and the Go from the tango dance craze. In 1926, the consistency of Frango dessert was described as flaky, requiring the use of a fork, not a spoon, such as one would use with ice cream. Eventually, the Frango dessert line included pies, ice cream sodas, and milkshakes. It was decided in 1928 or about 1929 that Fredericks should offer a chocolate mint truffle. Candy maker Ray Alden is credited with developing the Frango mint. His secret recipe called for chocolate from cocoa beans grown on the African coast and South America, triple distilled oil of Oregon peppermint, and 40% butter. A few months after Frederick sold out to Marshall Field in 1929, Frederick's candy makers in Seattle were summoned to Chicago to introduce Frango chocolates to Marshall Field to help build slumping sales during the Great Depression. Soon the Candy Kitchen at Marshall Field had produced their own Midwestern interpretation of the Frango chocolate recipe. Frango's was produced on the 10th floor of the downtown flagship store. Even after the store's demise, the F&N Frango lives on. In the Northwest, the candy was sold in the Bon Marché, now Macys, as well as in Portland's Meyer and Frank. Frango can still be found in Macys stores in Seattle in their familiar hexagonal box. In addition, they are still a favorite at the Macys stores that were formerly Dayton's, Hudson's, and Marshall Field. The classic Frango mint candy now exists in 3 varieties. The Frederick Nelson recipe primarily available in the Northwest, the Marshall Field recipe available in Chicago area Macys stores and produced locally, and Marshall Field recipe produced by the Gertrude Hawk Candy Company of Dunsmore, Pennsylvania, for distribution at other Macys locations. Before the acquisition of May, Marshall Field transferred all production of Frango to Gertrude Hawk. Macys chairman Terry Lundgren promised the Chicago-made Frango as a concession to protests regarding the loss of the Field name. And as I can personally say about Frangos, pretty much on every single trip that I go to the store, I do pick up a box. They're getting kind of pretty expensive. Those red Christmas ones were actually 50% off. So at 50% off, they were about $10 a box. And, you get a handful in there. Pretty expensive, but, it's one of those things that it's just kind of considered a treat every now and then. And here's another store in the store concept, Sunglass Hut, located there. And here is Macys bottled water. Are you guilty of ever buying a Macys water, being thirsty inside the store? Let's take another look of another in-store, and this is MAC makeup, MAC Cosmetics, I guess. So there's a number of in-store, whatever you would want to call them. I think there's maybe a total of 4 inside this Macys. Well, as this video is coming to a close here soon, I want to thank you for coming with me and taking a tour through my Macys here located in Puyallup, Washington. I really do appreciate it. Remember, you can always follow us here on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. I really do appreciate you coming with me, and it was really kind of fun taking a one last walkthrough of this store as it originally was a Macys. You know, one other thing to add to this video is on other visits that I've done since filming this, really that magic that kind of Macys had for having a certain style that you would expect out of Macys, that's gone. They have since brought in all new product from other stores and not Macys, and it just doesn't feel like Macys. It just feels like a bargain store, really. But anyway, again, thank you. Like and subscribe. We're going to be visiting another store in our next video. It's going to be a liquidation. We'll leave that as a surprise until it's finally produced and released. Thanks again. Have a great day. Have a great week, and I will see you soon. Take care.